Do you want to hit the iron shots of your dreams? Do you want to hit more greens in regulation? And of course, do you want to get good at golf? Hi everyone, my name is James and welcome back to Get Good at Golf. If you want to do just that, 2 seconds, subscribe button, like, we'll all move on with our day. But today, guys, we're going to help you hit better iron shots. And this is something which I've actually struggled with in the past. So it's really, really interesting to see how potentially we could all move on with this. Chris does this really, really well. So we'll put some of his shots on screen now because he's been hitting, well, some of the drives and iron shots of your life, Chris, haven't you? How's your finger?
Still injured.
Had a battle with a car door, a Volkswagen T-Roc to be precise. But guys, what I want to make sure is that we're keeping not only the width with our golf swing, because width is important this way, width is also important that way, and it's really important that we keep that club moving around the body in a nice natural arc. So what I mean by a natural arc is we're not going this way because that would be unnatural and far too steep, but we're also not coming this way because that would be unnatural but far too shallow. You imagine if you work with any kind of picking anything up heavy, if you think about moving a log or if you're going to hit a hammer or something like that. I don't do a lot of that stuff, as you can imagine. But that guy on Instagram with the long hair who talks crazy speaks a lot of really, really good sense, because if you're wanting to move something around your body here, you want to make sure you're doing it in the easiest possible way to get the most out of it. So what I want to make sure is on the way back, we're not just picking the club up here and seeing that left arm bend straight away, because this is something which is a little bit of a misconception. I've heard this in lessons and it's kind of made me shiver a little bit, because I've heard people say about introducing an extra lever, trying to get more club head speed, which could get you more ball speed, which could get you more distance. Now, if I try and do that, that's what I get. And I think I've just broke my wrist. That really, really hurts. So if you're doing that on a golf mat or if you're doing that in the summer, you can see it's not really going to work overly for you. Now, if I try and keep that left arm as straight as I can here, and you'll see that I'm not moving it straight out this way, I'm not moving it straight back this way. Essentially, I'm trying to keep the club head outside of my hands this way, whilst keeping that nice and square or nice and straight. So from there, I can set the club on the way up. I've got my Lampkin logo pointing at my chest, and you can see I'm almost moving it with just my left arm here. I'm not necessarily trying to do much else with it. I'm trying to keep the width. Now, the reason why I could strike that so well with just my left arm, which isn't my dominant arm would be to do that with the right arm. Now, if I do that with the right arm, do I want to keep, for sake of argument, my right arm as straight as I can? Because surely you would think, no. Because what happens here is we have an agonist and an antagonist. So one stays straight, one folds, and on the way through, exactly the same happens. One stays straight and one folds. Now, for a right-handed golfer, your left arm stays straight on the backswing, and then your right arm stays straight on the way through. That's how we generally keep the width. If you think of like a magic triangle, for example, or the Bermuda Triangle, which I think where Bobby is at the moment, because we haven't heard from him for ages. Is it Barbados? Barbados is in. But I let that right arm fold. So all I'm doing is adding this underneath here, and I let that fold on the way up. So you can see that I still have that triangle for as long as possible. Then it has to fold to get the club up into position at the top of the backswing. So from here, I know I'm in a nice stable position to be able to work that around my body, release the club, and guess what happens here? We have that triangle again. So all of a sudden now I'm working through into the top of my finishing position. And it seems almost quite complicated, but I think it's that simple. People overcomplicate it, which makes it seem overcomplicated. So again, left arm, the right arm's on as a passenger, and I'm not really trying to do much with that. You can see I've kept as much width as I can. So for me, what that's allowing me to do is kind of maintain that dynamic loft for as long as possible, because essentially what can happen if you struggle with that, we saw that first shot that I hit where I kind of pick this up and then drive into it. You can see how much lower that comes out. So it's coming out really low spin, really low launching. It becomes very, very difficult for you to, first of all, control where the shot goes, because we don't know how high it's going. In essence, we don't know how far it's going. But it also becomes difficult to control any kind of speed as well. So the first shot that I hit you there, we saw it went just left. And how far did it go? Did it go 155-ish?
Yeah, 150.
So if I want to hit you the same shot, I recreate that movement, The strike's very, very similar. It's drawing on me a little bit. It's going to pitch around 150, 142 releasing out to 145. You can see that it's very close to the first one that we hit, and I'm going to do that time after time. I'm going to repeat that time after time, because it's not only how you create your speed, it's how you deliver that club to give it the dynamic loft, so we know how the ball's launching, and of course how the ball's then coming down from that height. So again, left arm nice and straight. I almost feel like I'm stretching out here just to make sure that I know where that club is. And I'm using my knowledge from the hack motion stuff we've been working on to know how I feel about the left wrist. I'm not bowing it overly, I'm just keeping that nice and straight and then loading to the top of the backswing. From there, I feel the natural rotation of my left arm come down as I begin that weight transfer into impact, because all of this is good and well, all of this keeping the triangle is vitally important. Making sure we have the correct dynamic loft at impact is vitally important. But all of that only happens if we get two things correct within the golf swing. So we need rotation and we need weight transfer or pressure transfer, to be more precise. If I don't get that, I can actually keep what I want to keep on the way back, keep the width, keep that triangle, and hit that kind of shot. And you think, well, you kept the triangle on the way back, James, why hasn't that gone on the green? Now, I might have kept it on the way back, but the sure as hell wasn't one on the way through because we were leaning back off it. The sternum was behind the golf ball, and of course the footwork didn't marry up to what we were trying to do. So, if I can keep the width, move that weight back into the top of the backswing, as soon as you start your rotation into the downswing, so my trigger point, and this is something which is really important for people, is how do you start your downswing? What commences the downswing? For me, it's a little move with my left hip, which goes back and towards my left heel. So in essence, it's a rotation of the hips, but I can't fathom how my hips would rotate, so I just think about the left hip. I think, right, left hip moves back. That in essence makes my right hip move forward, and the pressure's moving towards my left foot. Now, naturally, that arm is going to rotate this way, because if I get to the top of the backswing, it's not going to do that. It's impossible. It has to just turn naturally and rotate. And you can see if I keep the momentum moving around there, if I keep my weight transfer moving towards that target, essentially you're going to get the strike. You're also going to get that dynamic loft that you want to hit the shot. So this video starts to go on about, well, how do we keep the triangle? How do we keep the ball striking moving forwards? When really, if you think about your rotation, that forward weight movement, and the natural movement of your arms, like we've said, essentially you can start to hit much more consistent golf shots time after time. And if you do that, I guarantee you'll get good at golf.